kind of funny in my mind. Alright, so this is edge roughness, so edge min height. This is the percentage height where we start having noise. This is how quickly the noise takes effect. So edge, yeah, okay, so edge min height, we'll just say is like from 0 to 1. We'll have it start at 0.1, and this one will be 0.25, and it'll be 0 to 1. So, file that, save it. Yeah, and it's real subtle. You know, there's not really much to it. But maybe your brain will pick it up. And especially if this had a texture on it that wasn't shit. Then, you know, this would look a lot cooler. Alright, let's are there any other things with the water that we wanted? Subsurface lighting for the waterfall. Alright, let's take a stab at, is there any subsurface stuff that we might want to do for this material? Like there's translucent, masked, opaque, default lit. We could have subsurface. Did we just move all this crap outside of itself? Oops. Didn't mean to do that. Alright, so subsurface color allows you to add a color to your material to simulate shifts and... Yeah, let's see how this looks with subsurface stuff on, because we'd want the light passing through it, right? Try slowing it down and scaling it up. It's like that directional light is real bright. You know, like if we got that light coming through there, then you know that's gonna look pretty nice. But this thing should be occluded, but it's not. So subsurface stuff doesn't get shadowed? Oh, that's just annoying. Alright, so subsurface stuff can actually work. So why don't we have constant in here? Let's convert to parameter. Let's call subsurface. Ooh, let's turn off that live preview. Subsurface multiplier. Doesn't SSS require depth or volume, I should say? I'm not sure what you mean by SSS in that sentence, Anto. Subsurface shading require depth or volume? It just has the subsurface color. Allows you to color your material to simulate shifts in color when light passes through the surface. It does not require depth as far as I'm aware. Otherwise our grass wouldn't work. So I have our subsurface multiplier, and we'll also have a color. I want a subsurface color. So you'll multiply this by your color. Alright, so let's slap in our subsurface multiplier to this thing. Mesh should probably have some closed insides. Well, it's kind of a double-sided mesh at the moment. If we had an actual other mesh, you know, like that had edges and all that sort of stuff, could mess around with other stuff. Yeah, it's just a pixel shader or something like that. There's no concept of the depth of the object being passed in anywhere in the shading stuff here, as far as I know. The subsurface stuff with Unreal literally just has something that comes through it. It assumes that you'll figure that out yourself. Though I don't know, maybe what I'm saying is completely wrong, and Unreal actually takes that into account if there is depth and bounds and does that sort of checking. If they do, I am not aware of it. But that doesn't mean I'm correct. That just means I'm not aware of it. Alright, so we need two things. We need the subsurface color and the subsurface multiplier. So let's go ahead and add those. So subsurface multiplier. And let's get color. So the subsurface color. And while I'm working on the waterfall stuff, if anybody has any crazy ideas that they would want me to take a stab at implementing, I might take a stab at implementing them. If it's a crazy good idea. Alright, so I need to grab the color name out of this. Alright, so that'll work like that. So now we should be able to save this, compile this, save it, and I want the default color here, so I kind of want to just copy this color. And I guess I could use like the inner and outer colors. Hey, it snagged it. That's not bad. Alright, let's comment this. The color of the subsurface lighting. And a brightness for the subsurface lighting. So let's save that. Gotta go to the shops before they close. Alright, Caracan, thanks for sticking around. Good luck on your shopping endeavor. Come on, I was trying to move this thing. Editor, why you gotta do this to me? Alright, so subsurface multiplier. I'm gonna turn it on or off. You can change the color of the light that comes through it. White light, blue light. Well, I guess there's really not much to the subsurface stuff. It might have more to do with it later. And this one has a hidden shadow waterfall that looks different, which we're gonna have to fix up. Yeah, so we do something like that, and then we could have, like, you know, waterfalls in the back there that might look like they're doing whatever. I don't know. Probably have a different texture on it. So that's kind of what we would do if we had a real tall waterfall, and look something like that. Which doesn't look, you know, completely trash. It looks, you know, kind of trash. It's like it's just lit up real bright. And if we had like a whole bunch of waterfalls together, it'd probably look pretty good next to, you know, something, a nice backdrop. But this is all before we actually even have our artist go screw around and make stuff that actually looks cool. This is just, you know, random engineer dude screwing with stuff. So it'll look a lot better. More transparent with refraction. Yeah, the problem is the refraction stuff really doesn't... You can't really do too much more than what it's doing, because it just looks awful. Like, having more refraction on these things... doesn't always work the way that you'd want it to. I don't know. I was not happy with extreme refraction effects with Unreal. It looks really, really fucked up. Like, we're getting a lot of artifacts, especially with the reflections, where stuff's just totally screwed up. So, you know, I don't want to mess with that too much. I was unhappy with the results. So, alright, what are the next things that we need to do? We need to expose the textures that we're using. And this will be waterfall text. We'll call this waterfall texture. And this is the waterfall normals. And that's the actual color. So we've got the color combinations, we've got the actual stuff. We've got like the blending and opacity layers. Alright, so that'll be the opacity, blending, stuff like that. We got the base color and all that. I mean, we could have like specular and the rest on in there. I'm not really sure what we get out of all that, but we'll see. Color exponent. Yeah, the color exponent works in there. So let's see, we have the water texture. Let's add that to our waterfall. So we're going to want the normal texture. This will be our water texture. the default value of this should be this water texture. And this is going to be the texture for the water. Let's make sure to save all this stuff because saving is good. So we click on it, we've got access to the water textures, the normals, everything on this thing. Alright, that's pretty awesome. Anything else for the water? Yeah, we want to update the hidden shadow object for the waterfall and turn this into a checkbox. So what we've got is, you can see there are these shadows moving right here. The planar reflection does not render this object because it's semi-transparent. It doesn't render it properly for the reflection. It doesn't render the shadows off of it nicely onto here, because it does render the shadows. The problem is the shadows don't work with... Well, the shadows don't work with this thing, and the shadows also need to look different than the shadows here, than the water itself. Like, it's kind of weird. But the shadows actually look better if it's not the actual water. They look better if they're kind of a noise variation of the water. And then, yeah, stuff like that. So I need to turn that into a checkbox, but I'm gonna need a couple minutes here to refill my water bottle, get more energy drink, and we'll be back in just a bit. Alright. Let's see what we can do. So we were going to make that hidden shadow object, and then we're going to probably reorganize the blueprint a little bit. So we need a... also have a hidden shadow. So if this object should have a hidden shadow object, useful for planar reflections. I guess more this should be like casts shadows. And the default is going to be false. Alright, so this guy is... he's just got the test waterfall masked material on him. Which we basically threw some noise onto... where the hell did we throw the noise? So right here. Yeah, we just threw the water noise, we added a multiplier, we just chucked it on there. Alright, so how do I want to do this? Well, we need a mesh. So this thing is going to need... how come when I duplicated this, it got all screwed up? Oh, because it's probably not getting set with anything. Alright, so for this thing, we're going to need... is it this waterfall mesh? Hidden shadow, shadow two-sided. Alright, so hidden shadow, shadow two-sided. And not visible. Yeah, you can see it's there. All sorts of screwed up. So we'll need to fix that. Yeah, we can see all the garbage happening there. Good. Alright, we're actually going to make a function which is going to be update shader params. And what we're going to do is we'll have our initialization stuff here. So we got the shadow material and all this stuff. Alright, let's see. It should be this masked material. So let's get this sorted out. So we're going to need the waterfall mesh, so hidden shadow mesh. Create the dynamic material instance off of it. And we're going to want not the waterfall material, but the shadow material. And then we want to set the waterfall shadow instance material. Alright, that's starting to look fine, and then this update shader parameters is going to need to take inputs. It's going to need to take the material instance. So we're going to have material instance dynamic. Alright, and for all of this, we're going to want the local variable, which we're going to call material. Local mat. And that is going to be a material instance dynamic reference. And we'll throw it all over the place here. So we'll set it right here. And this will allow us to update both materials without having to copy paste a whole bunch of bullshit everywhere. Alright, well things certainly have gotten better here from earlier where I was just struggling with math. I just think that's so funny that I found that the freaking math tutorial website on vector projections had the wrong damn equation on it. That just keeps cracking me up in the back of my mind. Just like, man, how many people just are getting screwed by that thing? That'd be the ultimate troll, is to just make like a gigantic educational website and then just have sections of it purposely wrong just to fuck with people. Just that'd be the worst. Just that's like Disney evil. Alright, so we've made this thing which takes our local material and attaches everything to it. So let's go change our construction script to, instead of all of this garbage, to instead call that function. So we'll update our waterfall. Just like that, and it should update both. Alright, so one of the questions here is if our need a branch off of this cast shadows. If this is true, then we need to snag this hidden shadow mesh. We're gonna like set, like we basically just want to delete it. So we'll just swap that. It'll basically be like, okay, if this doesn't exist, it's just going to destroy the shadow mesh entirely. Like, we don't need it if it's false. So on this object, cast shadows is true. And we need to change the speed of this thing. Alright, so we're going to go inside of our update shader params and let's see, water speed. Alright, so we're going to want to change the water speed if it's a shadow thing. It's basically what we found was that the water speed needs to be smaller. If it's the shadow object, because it's accurate, yes, but it looks bad. So because of our field of view, basically, it's like, ugh, that's too fast, and we've got to stop being so realistic, basically. Alright, so we're going to say if this is the shadow material, then we are going to multiply this by like 0.25 or something. Wish there was a nice way in these blueprints to just, you know, kind of just like move everything over to the right. Alright, let's save that. Let's take a look at this guy real quick. So the water speed is 0. Why? What? I was grabbing the wrong water speed. There we go. And it doesn't match up, but I'm beyond giving a damn about that. It looks close enough. That's all I care about. Alright, so we got the hidden shadow mesh. It can be toggled on and off. It'll shadow things. So we can get rid of this guy over there. And what else do we need to do with that shadow mesh? Yeah, we need to update the material for the shadow such that it actually has all of those things that we fixed in it. Fixed. Alright, so we want these map the texture coordinates, we want the edge noise. Basically we want to copy the whole damn thing. And then add this back into it. So what we probably should do is just duplicate the damn thing. And that'll be it. So let's just duplicate this guy. And of course I'm going to need to rename that. It should be shadow material, not material shadow. And all we need is this. So we sample it from there, make it, and then we add. I mean, the other thing we could do is have like a noise, texture noise thing, right? And why was this effective? Was it because this is masked and the other one's not masked? This is default lit. What in the hell happened to all these objects? Oh, we moved around. Got all screwed up. Because we might want this, do we have the opacity mask? The opacity mask in this one is multiplying the alpha and the if. Alright, so we should start simplifying all this. We don't need subsurface or any of this stuff. We don't need the refraction. Do we need any of these normals? I don't think so. We don't need any of this opacity blending stuff. We don't need any of this base color. You know, we can just slap that in there and not be too worried about it. Alright, so this needs to be, I need a constant coming off of here, and we're going to call this noise. Let's convert to parameter. Let's just do, let's call this one shadow noise. multiplier. Alright, cool. So we have simplified all this stuff. And that should be good to go. So we just need the shadow noise multiplier, which we will need to set inside of here. So we'll duplicate this shadow noise multiplier. This will be the noise amount for the shadow. So this should be 0.1 by default, and we'll go from 0 to 1. And we can set it for both textures, both materials. Doesn't matter, the other one just won't use it. And we need to go to our blueprint and set the shadow material to this new mask material. So we can see this thing right there. If we go to this waterfall, should be able to change the noise multiplier, and you can see it's goes to real noisy. Oh, that's weird. I see this hidden shadow mesh thing. Movable. Alright, so there we go. We've got our shadow doing what it should. And we can mess with it a little bit. And it's got all the same edge stuff going on as well. Alright, cool. Just a lot of little things to get this thing working properly. Alright, so is there anything else with the waterfall? Hidden shadow object, subsurface lighting, deform the edges, fix issues with rotation. No, I don't think there's anything else with the waterfall that we have to really worry about. So what we're going to do is organize it. So let's have, this will be the edges. have a lighting. I'll throw refraction in there. Normal texture, roughness maybe should go in there. Alright, so opacity, speed, color, enter. I mean, maybe we can make color a thing. Let's compile that and see what it looks like in the sidebar. So we got one of these. What are we going to look for? We're going to see that we've got our materials, we've got our base width, our width offset, centered, water textures, opacity, speed, all that. We're going to use this one right here, and we're going to set up all of our defaults here. Alright, so width offset, we'll go down the list. So base width is 0.8, width offset is 0.1, centered is true, water texture is set, water normals. Should be the waterfall normals. Water opacity. We'll just set it at 0.75. Water speed is 1. Refraction amount is 0.02. Noise resolution. Default to 0.04. Edge roughness 0.05. Min height 1 and 0.25. And was this the opacity?